Hey friends, welcome to episode 21 of Sassy AF Are you a personality test junkie? Do you know what your Enneagram type is? I'm a 3. Yep, the achiever. Are you surprised? Probably not. This week, Alicia Journey, an attorney, woman's success advocate, and speaker, is our featured guest, and she is talking to us about how to know yourself better through your Enneagram type. She teaches us to avoid burnout and breakdowns by really knowing what motivates you and lights you up, and also knowing what you are motivated to avoid. Alicia is extremely intuitive and has an amazing personal story to share as well. If you want to feel more grounded, self-aware, and in tune with yourself, this week's episode is exactly what you need. As Alicia says, boundaries are sexy. I can't wait to hear what you think of this episode. Here we go. Welcome back to another episode of Sassy AF I'm Hallie Abolio, and I'm so excited to have my great friend Alicia Journey joining us today. Alicia! Oh my gosh, I'm so happy you're here.
I'm so happy. I feel like it's been a long time in coming. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, I'm so proud of you. And Alicia recently moved from Santa Barbara to North Carolina, and she just is in like such a beautiful space. And we've talked about this before, but I absolutely love that your last name is Journey, because ever since I've known you, you have been on a journey. And I feel like you are a woman who is constantly creating your path on your own journey. And it's so beautiful the way that you live your life and really just embrace everything that's going around you and everything that is in your presence. So I love that. It's just like your name embodies your spirit. And I think that that's such an amazing, amazing thing that you fell into that with such luck.
Yes, thank you so much. I know somebody asked me once if it was my shaman name, and I almost said yes, but no. And it does feel very appropriate.
Right? It's so cool. I mean, not everybody gets blessed with like such a name that's suited for them.
Right. I'll take it.
Well, today we are talking about the Enneagram, which I'm fascinated by all this stuff in I don't even know if you call it the spiritual realm or, kind of external influences that influence our, mind, body, and spirit, but everything from astrology to human design to the Enneagram. I'm fascinated with all of this. And I only know, snippets here and there of each of these things, but I'm really excited to talk to you about the Enneagram and understand how you've learned about it, what exactly it is, and how it can really help in-demand women take better control of their flow state and step into their power in their own lives. So how did you even get into this? Like, where did the Enneagram side of Alicia Journey come from?
Yeah, it's very interesting. So that story comes from when we know about the mudslide in Santa Barbara. And I went through that, and my kids and I were displaced through that process. And of course, that was quite a journey in and of itself, right? And it made me feel very kind of off kilter. And I definitely was taking some time for like regrouping and understanding, where I was going to go with my future, because I had made a pivotal decision. So I call myself a recovering attorney. I'm in AA, Attorneys Anonymous. I still have my license in California to practice, but I'm not active anymore. And after the mudslide, that was really the final decision. I had been leading up to that, but then after that, and I bring that up because it came to me at a period where I was like, oh, sweet baby Jesus, I know the law is not for me, but I don't know exactly what's next. And that, for a woman who's just very used to goal, get, right? It's like, right. And we know, Hallie, it can be I think probably the hardest thing is in that waiting space of like, not yet. Right. And so the Enneagram came to me. I went to Westmont. Mm-hmm. I'd been asked to come and be a speaker to talk about my career as an attorney. And the career development person was like, "Oh, have you heard of the Enneagram?" And I'm like, "No." And she told me about it. And, I really don't necessarily first instinctually think of it as a spiritual, like hoopty floob type of thing. I think of it more like a personality test, like a Myers-Briggs. And, but I think it has more depth and more layers than Myers-Briggs because it gets to your motivation. So she introduced me to it. I took the test and I was hooked because I'm like, oh my gosh, mind blown. This is who I am. It felt like it saw me. I'm like, right. It sees me. And then after that, there was a certification training program that I went through, a 3-day program, and the rest is history.
The rest is history. Well, that's interesting because I 100% hear what you're saying about it being more like a personality test. And I guess the reason that I always kind of associate it more in the spiritual realm is because I do feel like it embodies us kind of beyond what we're taught and what our direct experiences are in life. So to me, that feels like, greater plan, greater purpose, et cetera. But I love, for sure, it absolutely directs your personality, et cetera. So it's interesting that you made that connection where it goes deeper than just, the Myers-Briggs test, for example, which, by the way, I really need to, redo that one too. Cause that's one that I'm always like, ooh, what are my letters again? I always forget what I am in that one, but that's
There's a lot of overlap, but
there's a lot of overlap.
This one feels like it does help you understand mind, body, spirit.
Right.
But the Enneagram also helps you understand your attachment styles like as a child, and maybe that's where your original pain point came from, and that's what the bounce off point was. But really, it's what is your motivation? What are you motivated by? What lights you up, and then what are you motivated to avoid?
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so what is it? For anyone that's watching that's like, I've heard of this thing called the Enneagram, or I have no idea what the hell you ladies are talking about. Give us the 50,000 foot overview. What is Enneagram?
Okay, so there are 9 different types of the Enneagram. And Ennea is Latin for 9, and gram is Latin for diagram. So there's a diagram of 9 different types and styles. They're called types. So I describe it as helping you understand what motivates you, because I feel like our biggest job in life is to know thyself. That's how we become conscious leaders of our families, of ourselves, of our community, in our companies, whatever we do. Know thyself, because wherever you go, there you are, right? And if you don't know who you're bringing in what energy you're bringing in and who you're bringing in and what triggers you have, then how do you know how you're going to show up? And we have so much effect on the people around us. So it's our job to understand what affects us so that we don't affect other people in a negative way as well. So it also helps us understand our conflict styles and et cetera. So there's 9 types, and I'll go through them. So the one is called the reformer, or the moral perfectionist. These are black and white thinkers. They're I know what's right and wrong, and there's really not a lot of in between. Okay. So then we've got our 2s. These are our helpers. These are a lot of our therapists and our teachers. There are quite a bit of this is a way. I'm not even going to go there. I was going to say something. I'm going to take it back. But anyways, so there's our teachers and our therapists, a lot of 2s. Okay. But so they're the people that, you come in and you got the groceries and you're like, oh, I had such a bad day. They're going to go immediately help you and make sure that you're doing okay, even though they were just sitting here crying at the kitchen table, right? They're going to put their needs aside. So the 3s, and Hallie's a 3. These are our successful achievers. Da, 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 da. This is the thing that motivates them. I want that performance star. Give me that gold star. I want to be recognized.
Sometimes it's my detriment, by the way.
and that's one thing that we can talk about, if time allows, but there's healthy layers and levels within each. So you can be in your healthy 3, which the healthy 3 recognizes that achievement isn't everything, and being you is an achievement enough, and you're rooted and grounded in that. And an unhealthy 3 is a person who's like, I don't even know who I am without achievement, right? That's unhealthy 3.
Well, and not to sidetrack you, but I can 100% see that in myself, where when I was very focused, in the growing up, in school, in the early parts of my career, everything that I did was based on, can I get that gold star? Can I be recognized? Can I be the best person? Can I be seen as number one? Everything that I did was driven by that. I was obsessed with grades and points in school. And, when I was in a sales job, in a corporate sales job, and I was obsessed with the leaderboard, and where did I fall in that? Every week, every month, where was I being recognized? And then, at some point down the road, when I stopped having those accolades and obvious recognition points, then I went self-destructive, and I kind of went the other way. And I started seeking out negative attributes and negative behaviors and being around negative, toxic people. So, and I've talked about that side of my story many times.
Yeah.
But for sure, I see the connection there. But now in a healthy space, for me, it's about self-awareness and the recognition of being able to serve others and to have my own self-awareness and to feel really confident in who I am and what I bring to the table as me and what makes me happy. So it's interesting. So I have a feeling that, even though that might be my primary, and I know you're going to talk more about the wings later, it'll be interesting to see how that kind of relates to my overall personality, what balances me.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because one of the primary, in what I do, I also do leadership training. And one of the things that hallmark of a good leader is know thyself. So self-awareness. And I think you just hit on exactly the reason why I bring Enneagram into the work I do, is because it is, for me, the tool I've found that resonates the most with the people I've worked with as a self-awareness tool, as a leader, as a high in-demand woman. And this resonates a lot with women in general. Yeah. But I think this is just one of those tools that, it just helps you understand yourself. So
I love that. Okay, sorry, keep going. Number 4.
Yeah.
Where are we at?
4 is the individualist, the romantic. There's our painters, there are artists, there are Meryl Streeps. They're constantly creating, and they want to be, their motivation is to be unique and have creative inspiration and beauty all around them, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, they're actually, you're not going to meet a lot of 4s out there. And it's not because they don't exist, it's because a lot of them are introverts.
Oh, interesting.
They're just kind of like, let me do me. Janis Joplin's a 4.
Okay.
She's like, right.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to go back. Our famous 2 is Jesus.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah.
Absolutely. The helper. There you go.
She must very much a helper. All right. So our 5 is our investigative thinker, our researcher. These are the people who they want to know it all. They're going to want to get all the data, and they live in their heads a lot. Mm-hmm. So these are the people that there are a lot of introversion as well. Mm-hmm. Number 6 are loyalists. So they are, I think if they're like, if they had like a little totem, mascot, it would be like a Labrador. Can't think of that word. It would be a dog, right? Because they're the loyalists. Right. And they really are grounded by having people in their lives that they know are steady, and they're relational people.
Okay.
So they get their motivation by relationship to others, right? 7, and I'm a 7. So 7 is the enthusiast.
Woo!
The Epicurean. So we're the adventurers, we're the journeyers, right? We're gonna, that looks cool. Let me go do it, so 7s are the ones you definitely want us at the party. We are fun.
I always want you at the party, girlfriend.
Yeah. The downside of there's always the downsides of everything. It's not careful, right? The sevens, their main motivation is they want to avoid pain. So, I actually think that that's a good skill of mine because I've gone through my fair share of trauma and crap in life. And my motto in life is turn pain into purpose and trials into triumph. And so you can't sit and be like, oh my gosh,
Right.
You're like, all right, let's look at the positive. What happened? How can we turn this into an opportunity? But some people take that a little bit too far. They will just avoid pain at all costs instead of,
Right.
And that can lead to, drug use and alcohol and overeating, numbing. Right. So I think there's a distinction. Sevens get a bad rap, but eight are our challengers. There are our protectors. Okay. There are big personalities, and their main motivation is I want to be in control. I want to protect myself and those I love. A famous 8 that we all know and love is Trump. He's an 8.
I don't know about love.
A little tongue in cheek there. A little tongue in cheek. So he's our 8. I mean, 8s are awesome because they have a lot of courage.
Are they button pushers?
Yeah, but they do it on purpose and because they want things to get done and they're not afraid of conflict. Yeah. And it's interesting because our 9s are next to them and our 9s are the peacemakers and they avoid conflict. Right. So, yeah.
Okay. So that's really interesting. I mean, and I imagine that everybody has a bit of multiple layers, right, of Enneagram to them because we are all complex beings. We're not, we're all multifaceted.
Yes.
But I'm curious, do you find in your experience, just talking to people about their Enneagram and just in your training, that it shifts over time for an individual? Or if you're like, for me, if I'm a 3, am I primarily always a 3 and other aspects might come into play stronger or less strong over time?
So it's interesting. There are theories on this, but from my practical experience and my research, I have found that everybody has a primary type. Mm-hmm. And like we kind of briefly touched on, everybody has wings. They have 2 wings. So I look at it like the body of a bird, and then, you're going to have wings that are going to balance you out, and everybody has them. And then you have where you go when you're stressed, that's your tail. So like you're going to have that number 2. Okay. And that's really cool to identify because you're like, oh crud, I need to do self-care. I need to recalibrate. I'm out of alignment because I'm acting out of my stress type. Right. I bring that up because I can see myself in all of these types at any given point. And when you're in flow, you're in one type, and you're heavy in one type. You lean more towards one of your wings. And when you're stressed, you're towards your tail. And when you're kind of in balance, then you're right in the middle with both your wings. And to talk to you about your point, if we go in between them in our lives, I know that it makes a difference. Like say you're in a really stressful job and under a stressful boss, and you know exactly what type of person they want you to be. And they say, here, take the Enneagram. You're under stress conditions, knowing what this person wants from you, and they want you to be a 3, but you're really a 7. You're going to be answering the questions in a certain way. So your tests might come out skewed. Right. But my suggestion would be take the test again when you're, more centered, yoga class and grounded, right? Or whatever grounds you, dance or whatever. But because the whole concept behind it is that this is who you are, just at your core and at your essence, and it doesn't change. You go up and down on the variations of health throughout your life, and then you might lean one way or another on the wings, but your essence kind of remains the same.
So in-demand women, the struggle that because I will put myself in this category, that we have is prioritizing ourselves. And, we have all these demands on our time, and we want to put ourselves first. We want to have fun. We don't want to have guilt, right? All these things. So how can we leverage the power of knowing our Enneagram type to really ground ourselves, have more self-compassion, and, maybe have some more solid relationships and understanding and self-awareness?
Yeah. So I'm just going to give myself as the example just for this little nugget, because I think it's illustrative. I didn't understand that I knew in my essence that I'm a person that loves to laugh and I love to discover new things. And joy and being inspired and discovery, but I always felt like I wasn't allowed to have that because I'm a full-time single mom. I have a 13 and a 7-year-old. I was in a high pressure job as an attorney, a prosecutor. Then I had my own law firm and a nonprofit with domestic violence and sexual assault.
Right.
So, and as a prosecutor, I did domestic violence, sexual assault. So talk about there's not a lot of joy in that work. So, right. So it's interesting after I discovered the Enneagram and I was like, okay, so I am a person who thrives on joy and new things and being inspired. I like to inspire others and be inspired. And I just made a decision that I was going to ruthlessly do that and get into flow state. And the more I did that, and I said no to guilt, and I said, whenever I heard, oh, I feel guilty, and I heard myself saying that,
right,
I would just say, oh, that's bull. And I would choose joy. I mean, not hedonistic joy, right? Not just joy, I'm going to go do drugs and hook up with that guy while my kids are, in bed, like that type of stuff. But joy, I'm going to go sit on that bench and drink that coffee and look at that tree because it brings me joy. I'm going to dance to that song. I was in flow state more often. And then more often things I was quicker. They talk about, Michael Jordan talks about flow state. Mm-hmm. All of our top athletes talk about flow state. Our high performance musicians and CEOs, they talk about, and creatives, they talk about when everything gets quiet and they can kind of see almost like the plane of vision and they're like, world stops for them.
Right.
That's the flow state. If I, as a 7 who loves joy and inspiration, if I'm stagnated and sitting in the same place and I'm in my 3 just checking off lists and I'm like achieve, which it's not that I'm not an achiever, but if I was just stuck in my 3, right, which is what I was doing,
and you're out of alignment.
I was totally out of alignment.
Right.
I'm not ever in my flow. Everything's harder. The people around me are getting the worst version of me. And I burned out. That's where I had uterine cancer and adrenal failure. And I had 2 strokes and my entire right side of my body was paralyzed. And that's a very extreme case. But I'm just saying breakdown and burnout occurs when you are not being true to yourself and you're out of alignment. Oh. You're out of flow.
Oh my God. Well, and I was talking about that this morning on my morning motivation minute, was listening to your body, exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. And listening to your body, part of it is listening to your body right now. What is my body telling me that I need right in this moment, whether it's rest, whether you have a lot of energy right now, whether it's, you need to be with a certain type of person that's in your life, whatever that is. But it's also having the self-awareness to listen to your body on a more global scale. And who are you? Like you said, knowing thyself, right? If you know thyself and you know at your core what's important to you and what your values are, this, for me, 100% ties into self-care. And, I'm so passionate about self-care. And, I get so cringy. I don't know if that's the right word, but I cringe when people are like, oh, I'm having self-care Saturday and I'm taking a bubble bath. Great. Go take your bubble bath. That's awesome. Enjoy it. Who doesn't love a good bubble bath? Uh-huh. However, in my opinion, like really the self-care is aligning with your core values and what brings you joy and what makes you feel in alignment and in your flow state. And when you know yourself and when you know, these deeper kind of constructs of what are, who we are, like our Enneagram, right? I mean, it just allows you to really tap into that flow state and just take that mental power, be like, okay, this is who I am. Let's not fight against it. Right?
Yes. Amen. And one thing I'd add, and then I have another thing I want to take us down. But one thing I'd add to that self-care thing is self-care has gotten this like kitschy kind of thing. Like, yep. I'm going to do this bubble bath because somebody told me that that's self-care. Self-care is an everyday, every minute check in with yourself. What do I need? But like you said, we have to know ourselves to know what we need. And we have to take the time to listen. We have to develop a relationship with ourselves. So I lived a life where I was so disconnected from myself. Part of it was trauma. Part of it was achieving in a man's world, trying to break the glass ceiling with a sledgehammer that I could barely carry. Right. And part of it was I was too scared to look at the pain I was just like, we got to go. I can't do it. So what that meant was I disconnected from my body. Now that I've developed the relationship with Alicia and myself, I'm like, I know it on any given minute, what I need. Right.
Oh, I love that.
And that's, it's the biggest gift I've ever given to myself.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to follow up and say, all of this ties into the thing I think is the biggest superpower that women have. Men have it too, but women have it in spades, intuition, right? Mm-hmm. And if we are knowing ourselves in deep relationship with self, we're doing the minute by minute self check-in. What do I need? How do I get to my flow state? Then that's where those beautiful insights, that intuition comes in, those, I call them downloads, where you're just like, things and you don't, how did I know that? I know that I need to, like, I'll give an example. It was like 2 weeks ago, my daughter's going to kill me, but
I won't tell her.
But she was going to be starting. There was like some signs, right? But I didn't know when. And I was at the store and I was like, something stopped me. And because I had been tuning in and I was like, I gotta get her some pads. She started that night. If I hadn't have stopped and listened to the intuition, I mean, and obviously there's bigger skills, things that save people's lives, but that develop with self, that flow state, that is where we tune into the intuition that allows us to be even more impactful and high performance.
Well, and I love that. I absolutely love it. And there's not coincidence, by the way, that when we're women, we have our periods when you're in that time of life and it is your flow. I mean, that is a connection right there. And I feel very passionately about knowing where you are in your cycle. Because if you don't know where you are in your cycle, then you don't know what to expect of your hormones and where you're at in your own flow state. I mean, it's called a cycle for a reason. We're not like this. We're always doing this. But I think the key point also in all of this, in the self-awareness and the intuition, right? And listening, is that we have to be ready to open up and be accepting. And especially for in-demand women, I just want to make the pitch that we stop feeling like we have to distract ourselves from ourselves.
Yeah.
Because I spent years distracting myself, doing all the things for everybody else because I was too fucking scared to have that relationship with me. And now that I'm having the relationship with me, like you're having the relationship with you, it's awesome.
Oh my God.
And also, some days it's scary and some days it sucks.
Totally.
But also it's amazing. And it's incredible to be so in touch with yourself that you're like, oh, I get this. Like, I get who I am. It's like mind blown. So I think that this is the nugget that, like, if I impart any wisdom on any woman, Like I want her to be in touch with herself, in tune with herself, so she can get in flow, so she can understand who she is at her core, what her values are, and not distract herself from herself.
And, this goes back to like one of my core things. I've dedicated my life to helping women, domestic violence and sexual assault. And I myself am a survivor of both. And, getting in touch with yourself, knowing yourself, flow state, and your intuition saves people from staying in situations, like saves women from getting into dangerous situations and not, I shouldn't get in that car. I shouldn't go down that alley. I shouldn't be in this relationship.
Right.
Or, just a number of things. And so I think it's something that we can also teach our daughters, and pass down to them. It's just a little gift in general.
No, I think that's so good. Well, I mean, I feel like we could go on and on and on, but I want to give you an opportunity to share if you have any last thoughts on Enneagram and how that impacts us as, in-demand women in our divine superpower. I would love to hear your final thoughts and also tell us where everybody can find you and a little more about how they can connect with you.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess my pitch is for the Enneagram. I mean, just in general, but really, I just encourage all of us to just get rid of this stigma around selfishness, throw it out the window. I say all the time to my kids, to my family, to my boyfriend, I'm selfish as shit. Like I'm a very selfish person in the sense of I'm selfish. Boundaries are sexy. I'm selfish with my energy. I'm selfish with how I spend my time and who I spend it with. And I think that we need to reclaim that word and reframe it because it's not a dirty word. I mean, selfish allows us to serve from the overflow instead of the empty. And if we're giving people abundance and we're giving them from the abundance, there's no way anybody can begrudge us from daily and minute by minute self-care. Right. So I think we need to reclaim that word. That would be my
I love boundaries are sexy.
Yes.
Love that. Love it.
And I think that the Enneagram is just a mechanism for that. So I am on Facebook at Alicia Journey. I am on Instagram at The Attorney Journey. You can find me at my website, aliciajourney.com. What I'm doing now is I work with high demand professionals, specifically attorneys, but really all professionals on decreasing burnout. And I'm very passionate about developing women in leadership. So that's what I do. And I also offer Enneagram consultations. And I would love to work with anybody.
Awesome. Well, I'll put all your contact information in the show notes. Everybody can reach out to you. And I'm really excited to go take a more current version of the Enneagram test so that I can really tune into what my Enneagram type is and my husband's. And now I'm going to have my kids do it too, because I want to know what everybody's Enneagram is.
So 11. 11's the cutoff.
Yeah, I was going to say my 11-year-old. I have a feeling I know which one he is, but I'm curious to see how it comes out. So that's so cool. I'm so glad you're here. And I have to say, even though you moved away, so I don't get to see you in person quite as often, I love having this connection, via the internet, via Zoom. A shout out to Zoom for giving us this opportunity to still feel like we're together in the same room, even though we're several thousand miles away. But I'm just so appreciative to you for being here and just for being the most beautiful soul and always having such great insight. I feel like even though we haven't known each other for, a very long time in terms of time on the calendar, I feel like our connection is very deep and we have that spiritual bond. And I'm just so appreciative to have you in my life and for all your wisdom and knowledge that you're sharing here today.
Thank you. I feel the same way. Couldn't have said it better about you.
Well, thank you. And thank you all for being here on Sassy AF TV. We look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day. I know you are already crawling the internet to find an Enneagram test to take. I would love to know if you feel your Enneagram type is an accurate description of your personality. As Alicia says, it's important to remember that we all carry all of these traits to some extent, but knowing our primary type is key to really optimizing who we are and how we live our lives. Thanks again for being here and tuning in for another episode of Sassy AF TV. It would mean the world to me if you would leave a comment and take a screenshot to share it with your tribe on Instagram or Facebook. Don't forget to tag me at Sassy Healthy Fit. Then make sure to head over to sassyhealthy.fit and sign up for our mailing list so you always know the latest and greatest in sassy fun. See you next time.